Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called I Saw the Devil. The movie starts with a car driving in the dark, forcing to stop due to tire issues. The driver, a girl, is on the phone with her fiancé when a van pulls up with a guy coming out asking her if she is okay. She responds to him letting him know the tow truck is on the way. The fiancé, still on the phone, thinks something is off when the guy still wants to help. The man, after insisting, goes back to his van. Feeling something is off, she tries to drive off, but the man appears out of nowhere, bashes her window, gets in and takes her away. When she wakes up, she was tied up and hostage. She tells the guy that she is pregnant, but he didn't care and finished her extremely brutally. Pieces of her body will be found days later. Her father, being a detective for 30 years, felt guilty of not being able to save her. He even apologized to her fiancé, who was on the phone that night. After this, the fiancé goes on depression, take days off. Then one of his work's friend meets him. As we find out, he works for the national agency. The friend gives him a new GPS that allows you to hear what's around it, but told him to keep it a secret. The fiancé then goes to her father, who gives him the details of 4 suspects for what happened to her. He then goes to torture 2 of them, just to realize none of them were the killer. The 3rd suspect wasn't home, so he met his mom, and she told him where he was. When he got to the suspect house, he found girl items, and then the ring he gave to his fiancée. This was the murder's house. We then see the killer driving a bus with girls in it. He kills another girl. While he was assaulting her, someone screamed his name outside. He went out and saw the fiancé. The killer is surprised the police found him already, goes to attack the fiancé with a knife, and after a hard fight he had the opportunity to kill the killer, but stopped at the last minute and puts the tiny GPS in the killer's mouth, who swallowed it while being unconscious. The girl he kidnapped was saved. When he woke up, he went to ask for a ride to strangers. While the fiancé was able to track and hear him, the killer kills the men who picked him up, just realizes there was already a dead body in their trunk, so he left the 3 bodies and took the car. Because he was injured, he went to the hospital, and when seeing a nurse, he follows her to a room, but right before he was about to assault her, the fiancé showed up and beat him up, telling him this is just the beginning. Then we see the killer getting out of a car by dragging himself. He is heavily damaged. After thinking how the fiancé knew his location, he checked his car for a device, but nothing. Thinking there is tracking bug in the car, he leaves the car. The fiancé then receives a call from his father-in-law, telling him to stop it, that enough punishment was done, to leave to the police. But the fiancé doesn't want that. We then see the killer eating with other crazy people, to who he tells what's happening to him now, and after telling him he thinks it was probably a family member of one of his victims, he makes the connection between the ring he saw on the fiancé and the girl. Now his crazy friend captured the girl of the owner of the house they're staying, but before he hurts her, the fiancé shows up and beats him up badly. Him and the killer as well. The next day, police arrives at the house and arrests them all. While at the hospital because of injuries, the fiancé gets a visit of his friend asking him why not just let him to the police. The fiancé doesn't believe he was punished enough, but then his friend reveals to him that the GPS will start working until he gets constipated. The fiancé told him to stay quiet because the killer, who was also taken to the hospital, was unconscious near them, but actually he wasn't. He heard everything and understood how he was getting his location all the time. The killer was then released again so the fiancé can find him later like he always does. Knowing he has the GPS in him, he tells him, "I know you can hear me. Now I know you taking revenge on your fiancée, and I know the location of her house. Now you will regret not killing me when you had the chance. When I killed her, she told me she was pregnant." The fiancé had no idea. The killer gets some laxatives, and gets rid of the GPS, so now the fiancé can't track him anymore. The killer friend then tells him that he will kill her entire family. The fiancé receives a call from a friend, saying that the killer called them saying he has something to finish first, then he will surrender. He also told them his location, which is the fiancé family house. The killer gets to the fiancé's house, injuring the father and killing the sister before leaving. When the fiancé arrives, He sees it and regrets not taking care of the killer earlier. The killer calls the police, telling them his location so he can surrender, and the fiancée not being able to have his revenge on him. The killer comes to the location, but before the police arrives, the fiancée gets there first, and gets the killer in his car. He then took him to the house where he killed his fiancée. He tortured him and telling him he doesn't want to kill him, to not end this game that easy. He will kill him when he gets the most fear. He responds to him, "I don't get any fear." The fiancé closes the door and puts a rope in his mouth, attached to the door as a trap, so if anyone opens the door, a blade will go to the killer. He left, walked outside and saw a taxi. The killer parents and son got out of the taxi. The killer realizes his family was outside. They saw him and wanted to go inside to save him. He wanted to tell them not come in, but if he let go of the rope, the blade will fall on him. The family doesn't know that if they open the door, the blade will also fall. Now he had the fear in him. When the family opens the door, the blade falls, killing him, putting a capsule in him before he left. The fiancé was able to hear everything. He started crying and he has his vengeance. Wow, what a crazy twisted film. I'm just curious, what do you guys think of the film? Do you think the actions of the fiancé was justified? Or should he have left the police take care of the criminal? In life, emotions can take over you, and push you to a zone and set of actions that are far from logic, especially when family is involved. There was a great film, and my review of this film is a 7 out of 10. Basically a great plot that keeps you on the edge, until the very last minute. And a motive that is understandable while we watch a man lose his mind in the pursuit of vengeance. Again, don't let this be an excuse to not watch the film. Check out this epic film, the link will be in the bio. You won't regret it. This movie falls into the categories of movies that are extremely violent, as at every frame there is blood and very crazy psychopath on a rampage. I personally love how the fiancé finished him. The way he wanted to do it, by putting fear in him, so this crazy psychopath who doesn't care about anything, and do not feel anything, finally felt what his victims felt when he took care of them. A great way to end it, by putting him into his victim's shoes. Great writing. Now leave in the comments your thoughts on this film. I'm very curious. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and check our other movies summaries.